just trying to see if I can on the iPad. There we go. I think it takes a minute just to catch up. At the moment it's still saying it's waiting. Let's come out of that again and see if it's loaded now. Right, there we go. Right, I'll just wait for a few of you to arrive. That bit of sun beaming through is a bit annoying, isn't it? Hi Laura. So I wonder if I can close that. Is it coming from there? No. Still not done it, has it? It's probably going to annoy me the whole live, but never mind. It'll have to do. I'll just wait for a few more of you to arrive. I think at the moment it's just Laura. Oh, a few more has popped up. But yeah, I had a bit of a play with this. I won't go too much in depth, but I'll just sort of ramble on while I'm waiting for some of you. Hi Mum. So yeah, I haven't made one of these for so many years. I think I made one probably not long after I started crafting, and I wish I had a photo of it to kind of look back on. I don't even know what I would have stored it on. I probably did take a photograph of it, but I remember making one with all, like it was a kind of tree themed card. Hi Sandra. So yeah, it was like a tree themed card, and I think on every panel I did like a sort of tree scene of some sort. But yeah, I said I wouldn't even know where to look. Maybe it's on like an old laptop or something, who knows. But yeah, and I think somebody else, or I don't know if it was somebody I was following or if it just popped up as a suggestion on one of the social media platforms, that somebody had made a waterfall card. And then, of course, it opened up a can of worms, because I thought, well, I haven't done one of them for ages, and thought it'd be a good idea to have a play again. So, yeah, yesterday I did just have a very quick play. I didn't go too involved with it because I sort of ran out of time. But, yeah, I just thought I'd have a very quick play. But they're quite unusual, and they can be done sort of on, you know, not just for cards. It could be used for like a journal, in a journal page. You know, there's so many different options that you could sort of use this for. You can also do this little panel. You do have to have this panel here. I'll explain all why sort of shortly, but you know, there's different ways you can attach that, and different ways you can sort of extend it to the whole page and everything. But yeah, I mean, I think it would even look really nice as like with photographs and things on it. You know, you could sort of decorate the background and then put photographs on all the different panels. I think that would work really well. I think as well doing something like a really grungy, and that would look quite nice in this, done in this thing. But I'll just show you how it works. So you have a little lever here, and you literally just pull it down, and all the little panels flip up. Hi Lucy. So I'm just going slow, just so you can sort of see how all the panels sort of flip over right to the very last one. So I've made this one with 6 panels. You could probably use more if you wanted to. I think 6 is quite a nice amount, certainly for this size card, but I mean, you could even go bigger and do, it would actually work really well on like a DL card even, if you wanted to do a card version of it. But yeah, there's so many different ways. I think the panels actually look better, these panels, I think they look better in square form. I think the very first one that I did was actually excuse me, was actually square ones, but you know, because I've just used papers, the Stamperia papers and things, I've gone with rectangles for this. So for this one I used I think it's the Hidden Grove collection, I think that's what it's called, and just literally went with the papers from there and snipped them all up. I said it probably, if I was doing it again and had more time, I would have maybe stamped some more things around the edge on this side, but I just wanted to really have a bit of a play to see if I could remember how to, you know, how to put it all together and everything. But yeah, they're quite fun to make. I have done a bit of prep today, just so that there's, you know, you're not watching me cut out loads of little pieces to stick on here. So today I'm going to be using, I've actually put the book away and I've only pulled out the papers that I need. It's the Stamperia, oh, what is it? The Furry Friends? I can't think what it's called. Is it Fur Friend? Fur, I can't think. Definitely haven't got, oh, I've got the rub-ons here in case I use them. Furry Friends collection, that's it. It's probably one of my favourite collections from Stamperia. I haven't used it enough. I think because I love it so much, I'm scared to use the papers. I think really I need to get some more papers just so that I'll then make a point of using them. But yeah, it's such a fun collection. I said I've got the rub-ons here. I'll just I can quickly just run through some of them and show you them. I haven't used any of these yet, but they are so cute. So I think Laura's putting the links up there for the collection. I'll move down a bit so you can see it, but yeah, they're such fun. I think the characters are so quirky. But yeah, I'm only going to be using a couple of sheets. Not yet sure which one I've got. So I think this is from the, so this is the 8x8 single-sided collection. And I've pulled out these two backgrounds. These are adorable. They are, I love that collection. I said I really must get some more because I just don't want to use any other papers. They're just so nice. I must remember to come down a little bit because I keep forgetting that, or actually I could move the camera back a tiny bit, couldn't I? That might work. So yeah, yeah, I just don't want to use them because I love the set so much. So I really must order some more. But as I've cut out here, so these pieces here were on the there's like a page full of tags. Now I've cut the tops off, so they did sort of come up a little bit. I haven't got any to show you because I've literally snipped the tag piece off of all of them. Oh, I'm going a bit blurred there, I do apologise. Yeah, so I did have like they did have a top on. They were more tag shaped than this, and I've literally snipped that off just so it's a proper rectangle. And I'm going with cats today. Funny enough, I tend to be more drawn to the dogs, but I think in these tags there are more cats than there are dogs, so I thought I'd go with that. I think there's one here that isn't a cat, but it's actually like a mosquito type thing, but I'm just going to go with it because I wanted 6 panels. So yeah, as I said, I've kind of snipped them out, mounted them onto some black card and then onto some white, just to give it sort of, you know, some layers and everything. But they're quite, I think they're really cute. Right, I'm just going to have a sip of drink and then I'll maybe get started and showing you the mechanism and everything. Have to excuse me. As soon as I've started the live, of course, I've ended up being a bit croaky. Always happens. So I'm going to work on a 5x7 card blank. It's been a cat themed few days. It certainly has. It was actually my partner's birthday the other day and we went to a cat cafe. And I made him a cat card actually. But yeah, so it's definitely been a few days worth of cats. And funny, I'm not actually a right cat person. I never trust them fully. I'm a bit wary of them. I think particularly ones you see sort of, you know, just walking around the street and everything. I think we'll go with this one for the background. So I've mounted, sorry, not, I haven't mounted. I've cut out some black card here to fit on the 5x7 card. I might just glue this down now. Don't tell me I've lost that glue already. I literally had it right to the side of me just a minute ago. And I think it's gone walkabouts. This is a very good start, isn't it? Oh, where's that gone? I literally put it to, unless I've knocked it, oh, I have, it's on the floor. There we go. I was going to say I knocked a load of stuff off a minute ago, so it was obviously went down then. So I'm just going to stick this down. That's all stuck down. So this is that's Crafty glue that I'm using, and I've popped it into these little glue applicators. I think I use this for literally sticking down everything. I tend not to use the big applicator thing, you know, the, oh, I can't think what you call it, the ones it comes in, because I always find that these release just a nice amount of glue for sticking everything down. Right, I'm just going to measure this now. So I'm going to use sort of this side of it, I think. And let's just grab a pen and just mark it off a bit. So, and then I'm going to use my trimmer. Cut it down. Right, now these pieces here, don't get rid of them, because obviously you can, well, you might even be able to use them. I might use them for the strip yet, I'm not sure, but I'm certainly going to use this to decorate the little, you know, this little lever here. I'll use it to sort of probably cover that. So I'm going to stick all this down just so that it's, you know, nicely stuck down, so that when it comes to putting the mechanism on and everything, it's nice and firm. Obviously you could go decorate, making your own background and everything. I think for this I'm just sort of going a bit simple today, because the mechanism can be a bit complicated. Well, it's not complicated, but you know what I mean, it's just fiddly. So I'll put quite a bit of glue on there because I want it stuck down really well, just because obviously you are sort of pulling that lever down. You don't want to pull this top layer off. Right, that's nicely stuck down. So what I'm going to do now is make a start on the mechanism part. So for this, I've actually already cut this out because rather than pulling my big trimmer out when I'm live, I've cut a spare one out just in case it goes wrong. So this is going to be the main mechanism. This is just a that I've just cut a strip off. Now you could cut strips off the same size, the same width as your pieces if you really want. I'm going a bit below there again, aren't I? I don't know what's going on. I do apologise about that. Yeah, so you could cut your strip the same width as your pieces. I prefer having it slightly smaller. It's just my preference, but obviously it's up to you. You could also, if you wanted, maybe cut a circle here at the bottom. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to keep mine straight just for you know, so it's nice and easy. So to start with, I'm just going, well, let's grab the scoring board out. Now I will probably have to tell you some measurements probably after I've done this, because I'm just going to sort of go for it really on the scoring board. Let me move that up a little bit so that you can actually see what I'm doing. Just moving some stuff out the way. Right, hopefully you can now see. So for this first piece, you want it, I'm going to sort of do it about the same size as this this front piece, you know, your panels. We'll just call them panels for now. So yeah, I'm going to have it roughly that size. Probably will need cutting down at the end, but you know, I'd rather do it too big than too small at the moment. And now my scoring boards has got lots of grooves quite close together, so I said I will tell you, you know, how the measurements of them that I am doing once I've already scored them. Sorry I'm late. Oh, not to worry, Joe, it's nice of you to join. So yeah, I said I will give you these measurements, but I'm going to do about 4 score lines in between each one. So I'm leaving sort of 1, 2, 3, and on the 4th one I'm scoring again. 1, 2. There you go. And you'll need to do it so that you've scored, so you can stick 6 pieces down, or however many panels you're doing. Obviously if you're doing sort of 8, then make sure don't count this one. You won't be sticking anything onto this panel here. It's these smaller panels that you'll be sticking everything on, so just make sure that you have enough of these smaller scored pieces to stick all your pieces on. So I'm just going to count now all the grooves. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do more. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there we are. We've got the 6 bits there. I'm going to pop this out of the way, and then fold them down. As you fold them down, just make sure it is nicely lined up, and just score along that crease line. So you want to make sure that it is completely lined up here and not a bit wonky, because sometimes when you fold them and score them, they can go a bit wonky, can't they? So just crease along all those lines. Right, there we go. So there you've got all your lines nicely scored. So that is actually your main mechanism. You will need to, as I said, trim this front piece down. I'm just going to do a quick line there. What you'll need to do is sit your oh, I was going to tell you the measurements just to give you an idea, wasn't I? So I've done them roughly about 1.2 centimeters each of those panels there, all the way along. I said I've just sort of done it on my scoring board and left 4, done it every 4th score line, but it's about 1.2 centimeters. You could, if you want it, I mean, if you're doing a much bigger project, you could use your do the spacing a lot bigger. Just bear in mind that you'll need a nice long piece of card sort of to pull that lever down. Oh, I do apologise. Yes, what I'm going to do is just hold that. I said, bearing in mind you're going to be sticking that on this first panel here, not this big one. So I'm just going to sit that on there and just draw. I'm actually going to make it a bit shorter. I said I'd rather have it too long than being too short. You can always cut bits off but not add them on as easy. So I'm going to trim that off. It's so long since I've made one of these. You're inspiring me to do another one, especially with these lovely papers. Yeah, I said I haven't done one. God, I don't know. I think it was not long after I started crafting, and that was quite a few years ago now. And I said I remember it having all trees on it. So yeah, now you can see that that will be nicely hidden behind that bottom panel. I'm calling it the bottom one because it will actually be the last panel to go on. What I'm now going to do is figure out what order I want these in. So I think there's two sort of similar-ish ones here, aren't there? Them two. So I'm going to space them out a bit. Let's go. I think we'll do that. So I'm going to start with sticking the first one on up the top here. Now you have got to be really careful that you don't put too much glue on that it's going to escape into the next bit, because you just don't want it, you know, you don't want the glue overflowing too much. So just going to stick that about there. I'm just making sure that that fold is sort of below the top of this. You don't really want to see that too much. So, and as I said, you really don't want any glue overflowing behind here, because otherwise you'll end up with everything stuck, you know, stuck together, and you really don't want that. So I'm just making sure that that's somewhat straight as well. I mean, you could use double-sided tape if you wanted here. But yeah, so I'm going in with the next one now. And again, just keeping that glue within the panel. Right. So just making sure that it's lined up okay as well, because you want it sort of nice and straight all the way down. Luckily this glue does sort of grip nice and quickly. Make sure I've just stuck them all the right way. So, and again, just work down the panels until you've stuck them all down. So on these ones, so on the first one that I did, I tried to overlap that hinge, so it was just below the top of this panel. These ones I'm not doing. The hinge is sort of almost in line with it. I don't know if you can see it there if I hold it up. There's a bit of a delay, so you can sort of see that hinge part there. That's fine on these ones. In fact, you need to make sure that it's not, you know, above that line, because otherwise it'll end up catching as you're pulling the pulling your panels down. Just holding it each time just so it's nice and secure. I'm just going to have a sip of drink again. I do apologise. That's a nice thin nozzle, making it easy to get the glue only where you want it. Yeah, they're really lovely applicators. These were on the That's Crafty website. I don't know if you have still got them, have you, Laura? They come in a pack of 3. And what I quite like about it is the nice bright top on them. I think there's a white one, a red and a blue. And I quite like it because then if you throw it down on your desk like I do, well, in theory you shouldn't lose them as easy. I still do, as you saw at the beginning of the video. Mind you, that's only because it was on the floor. Yes, still in stock. So they are on the That's Crafty website. They are a lovely thin nozzle, and they do come out nice and easy. And I tell you what I really like about them is, you know, they're nice, and the bottles are nice and sort of thin plastic, so they're nice and easy to squeeze out. I think sometimes you have these like glue applicators and they can be quite, you know, the bottles can be quite firm, and it can be really hard as the glue comes sort of, as you're sort of using the glue, they can become quite difficult to get the glue out sometimes. These aren't. These are really lovely. They're nice and soft. I'm not going to show you just how soft, because I have actually just refilled mine. But sort of as it is getting sort of to its near end, it is still nice and easy to squeeze out. So I'm just making sure that all these are nicely in place before I stick the next one down, because as I said, I want to be able to use that mechanism fairly soon. And then the final one. Right. Hopefully they're all relatively straight. Yeah. So I'm just going to see how this fits onto my card. Because what you could do at this point is trim this your lever down a little bit if you really wanted. I think I'm actually going to leave it, just because that way then it's a nice nice length for sort of grabbing hold of and pulling down. But what I am going to do is decorate that. So I'm grabbing that offcut piece of card, you know, from the papers, and I'd quite like that bird sitting on it. So I think what I'm going to do is just draw around roughly. I'm just drawing around where I want to cut this. And I've also got that saying on. I don't know if we'll see that too well, but we shall see, I guess. So I'm going to trim that down. Hopefully, I might need to do it a couple of times. So I'm just about on that pencil line. I think I went a bit wonky there, so here we go. So I don't know if you can actually hear me trimming here, or if it's I can't remember if my son changed the sound after the last live, but I know the live wasn't picking up any sound effects, was it? Right, I didn't mark off the length for that, so let me just make sure. I might have to trim a tiny bit more off, but let's just see. About there. So I'm just going to trim a tiny bit more off, because I think where I drew round it, it's, you know, it's a little bit bigger than I'd like. Right, hopefully that now fits on there. That'll do. You can see here, so I haven't taken it right to this top bit. You're not really going to see that. I don't know if you can see actually. If I fold it, there is a bit of a gap there. Ooh, I'm just waiting for it to catch up. You can hopefully see there's a bit of a gap between the paper, the the background paper and the hinge. I'm not too worried about that. It's not going to get seen. So, and it just means that everything can bend a bit more freely. Let's pop these out of the way. Again, I'm not going to completely get rid of these because I don't know if I'll use that bit. I might use the flowers actually off the other one. I don't know yet. We shall see. Yeah, so let's stick that panel down. Actually, I'll glue this one because where it is a bit shorter. I'm sorry, that line of sun is getting on my nerves. I hope it's not too distracting for you. So we'll just stick that in place now. Obviously, what you could even do if you're, you know, decorating this sort of panel, you could even do like a little happy birthday if you were doing it as a birthday card. Smooth that over so it's not in that sun. You could have like a happy birthday message somewhere on here, or some sort of greeting or something that as people pull it down, you know, it reveals a message as you pull it down. Yes, can hear it. I actually prefer to hear it. It was a bit weird last week with the silent heat gun. Yeah, that was weird. I can't get over that. Yeah, Jack must have changed it then. I did say to him just before the live, did you change it? And he said he couldn't remember. So he obviously did. Unless, of course, it is just that it's picking up. I don't know. I don't know what would happen if I put the heat gun on now. We'll try it next time. Right, now what you need to do is make another strip, like I did here. Now, there are different ways of doing this. I'm just pulling this back out again to show you. So what you can actually do is, I could actually show you on a piece of card. Oh, I don't really want to use that nice bit of card. I haven't got another strip though. I'll use this just to show you. So some people do it where you sort of have the strip, but then I'll have to draw it out for you so that you can kind of see what I mean. So you'd score 2 lines to make sort of a little gut type thing, and then you'd fold them. I'm not doing this perfect because I'm not going to do this way. I'm just sort of showing you a different way that you could do it. And I wouldn't probably do them as deep as that. Again, I'm just doing it just to show you and give you an idea. Because you can sort of do it where these lines are kind of hidden. You know, that panel is sort of hidden. And obviously you'd have to do it as well so that this top piece is a little bit bigger than your panels here. You know, it wouldn't be any good doing it the same size as your slidey bit, because what would then happen is, so you would in theory stick that to this back panel. This is why I said you must not stick anything on this panel here, because this is where your the bit's going to go to stick it all down. But you can sort of do it so it wraps round. I don't know if this is going to make sense for you. So it wraps round like that, and you can stick it behind. And then you don't have these bits here showing. I don't particularly like that way because I think it can make you've got to make these these gut bits. Is that what you call them? So it can sort of push it up a lot more, and I don't really want to do that. So I'm just going to do a strip of card. I think it's just easier and quicker as well. You could do the strip of card right to the edge. I mean, really, if you were making your own background, what you could do is make the strip of paper so that make the strip of card so it's the same colour as your background, so that way you don't really see it. Or if you've got 2 papers the same, you could maybe cut out that strip so that it sort of matches your background. Hopefully that makes sense in what I'm saying. I'm not too worried about it being too different, so I'm going to use actually a strip of this. I think maybe I'm going with flowers, as it is there's flowers on this bit. really I'd like to cut out a strip about there, but what I'm going to do, I think, is save that piece of this strip down here for another project. So I'm going to trim that off, and then I think we'll go about that size. Let's measure just roughly how big I want that strip. So I can give you some measurements in a minute of the width and everything. To be honest, I'm just sort of eyeballing it and just going with whatever here. I think that's where I had my mark. I can't actually see it. Let's have a look. Yeah, we'll go with that. So that sun is really distracting, isn't it? Right, so we'll go about there, I think. I think that's about the right. Yeah. See, as I said, you can, if you were doing your own inky backgrounds and everything, you could match the backgrounds up so that they're completely identical and you don't really get much difference there. What I might actually do is grab this piece, and up here I'm just going to do a bit of decorating, really, sort of up here. It says Forever Friends. I really like that little piece. I'm just going to snip that out. I'm going to hold the scissors properly. So even if you are snipping bits out of these papers, you know, do save the rest of them, because you can keep snipping various bits out. And actually with these you could also make a bit of a collagey background. You know, you could tear off sort of that piece, stick it down, use some paints over it. You could have quite a lot of fun, you know, using up all the different pieces. So I might just stick that up here just to sort of add a bit of decoration. Or you could even use some of the rub-ons. That was my intention, but I might leave the rub-ons for today. So yeah, I'm just sticking that on there. So I just think that's really sweet. And obviously, as there's quite a lot of cats on this, you know, they can be cat friends. Right, so for this piece now, what you do need to do is go back to this little flap that you didn't stick anything on, and you sort of need to find the middly bit of there and just stick it on. I'm just going to stick it sort of roughly in the centre, sort of maybe closer to the bottom. And go about there. So I'm just going to hold that in place for just a second, just so it catches that top piece. And actually, I'm now going to put my glue gun on. I just hope this has got enough charge in it. And it works for me. If not, I'll have to wait for the other one to heat up. Right. Don't know if I've actually, I don't think that's quite central, is it? Ooh. No, just a bit of this. I think this side is a bit longer than the other one. I think that's a bit better. Right. Oh, turned it off. Oh, come on. Back on. So the only reason I'm using the glue gun for this part is because, you know, I am live and I sort of want to show you how to stick it down. As I said, this piece here, you could actually do a whole panel right to the edge of your project. I'm not doing that. I'm just doing a small strip. Oh, I didn't give you the width of that. So that's just over 2 centimeters, I think they are. Again though, if you're doing your panels, if your panels are a bit bigger, then you know, you could make your panel here a bit bigger. It's up to you. What you could even do, if you were doing like a really kind of steampunky project, You could even staple these down, have a couple of staples and make them look sort of quite creative rather than, you know, I think people do often use staples, don't they, for projects, and I think sometimes they do look really nice. But yeah, you'd obviously have to be able to get them right over the page, so I suppose you might need a long arm one. Right, let's see if this is working now. So I'm just going to hold it all straight and pop some glue on the back here. Now just be careful that you don't get any glue on the rest of your mechanism, because otherwise it won't work. Now I hope I stick this in the right place first time and don't have to pull it off. So I think we'll go about there. And luckily this glue gun did work for me. I said you could use normal glue if you wanted. I think it will probably hold. But because for quickness and everything, I'm using a glue gun. Just make sure that if you do use normal, like that's Crafty glue, just give it a little bit of time to grab it and make sure that it's completely dry before you start trying the mechanism out. Because you could end up, you know, sticking everything to everything or pulling it off if it's not quite dry. Right, let's give this a try. Hopefully it works. So, yeah. Ooh, we're a bit stuck there. Right, I'm going to pull mine up again. So I think I've put my glue too close and it's not pulling down, is it? Right. When you do it, what you've got to keep in mind, if your lever is smaller than the thing, you've got to make sure there isn't glue there, and mine is. So what I'm going to do is just grab my craft knife and just sort of slide it down a little bit, just to sort of unclog some of that glue. I had a feeling I'd make a mistake here. I think that side's fine. Right, let me just try that again. Ooh, it's still catching. So I'm just going to slide that knife down again. So you just have to make sure that there's not glue right where your mechanism is going to sort of catch, because that back panel, I don't know if you can see, so that your first panel, sorry, is sort of sliding behind, and I have messed this one up slightly. Let me see if I can completely pull it off. Very carefully. Right, that's one off. So can you see what I mean here? I've put some glue right where this panel wants to tuck behind. So I'm just going to pull that off. Let me put my glue gun back on again. Hello, I've been watching, and you could use double-sided. You could definitely use double-sided tape. I don't actually have any because I'm not a fan of double-sided tape. I don't use it on anything. But yes, absolutely, if you've got double-sided tape, that's another good option. I'm just peeling this off. Right, let's try again. So just make sure that you don't have any glue sort of where the panels are sitting, like I just did. Lots of stringy bits there. I forgot about that. I said I haven't done one for a very long time, so that's my excuse anyway. Right, I'm just going to push them down and hopefully this time it'll work. Right, let's get rid of some of that glue gun string. Right, let's try again now. There we go. It works fine now. Ooh. Sometimes you do need to do it a couple of times just to sort of loosen it up a bit. I've messed that top corner up, look, where I pulled it through the first time, where I'd stuck it down. But it does sort of work. I'll turn it that way so you can see it properly now. But yeah. So there's all the panels. I said there's so many different options that you could do with that. You could do photos and do a little photo flip book. You could stamp different images on each panel and do your own sort of inky background. There really is just so much, you know, so many different ways. I've kept mine very simple, and you just use papers for this project, but you could completely go mad. I would maybe like to do another one. Perhaps I'll try and do one next week that's slightly different and do some stamping on it to show you sort of, you know, different ways that you can do them. And maybe if I can find my stapler, because I think I have got a stapler with like a long arm, and try and even staple these. But will say, if you do staple these down, just obviously you'll have to sort of stick it on your card base afterwards, rather than stick your top, you know, this top background card on last onto your thing, because otherwise if you staple it you'll see the staples through the back. Real great lesson in what not to do. You rescued it brilliantly though. Yeah, it certainly is. I said probably if you'd made the panels the same, I mean, if you'd have made this lever the same width as the panels, then you probably wouldn't have that problem. It's just that I've done it so that it's slightly smaller. And I said it's been so long since I've done one of these completely. So I know I did play around yesterday, but that was just a sort of trial run. And I suppose I didn't make that problem. I didn't have that problem yesterday. So, but yeah, so that's it. Good to see what to do if you mess up. Yeah, I guess it is. But yeah, I just think they're really fun. I want to keep playing with it now, but I'm not going to, because I'll bore you all. But anyway, yeah, thank you for joining me. I know I said it wasn't my usual day today, but I'm glad that a few of you could make it. I will be back again in a couple of weeks' time. I don't know what that date is. I didn't check. I agree. Shows exactly how to rectify the problem. Yeah, it's quite an easy mistake actually to make, because I think when you're sort of looking at it, you just think, oh yeah, stick it down, but you're not kind of, you're then not thinking about, you know, that size difference on the panels here. But yeah, if you do have a go at this, please do post some pictures up, especially, you know, if you're using That's Crafty products. With, you know, I'd love to see your take on it. But yeah, as I said, I will be back in 2 weeks' time on the That's Crafty YouTube. And Joe will be live again next week, I believe, on Monday. In the That's Crafty Creatives group, so do join in there. And I said please post any photos of any of your makes using That's Crafty products, or products that you purchase from That's Crafty. It's always lovely to see your makes. Thank you Dina and Laura. Yeah, thank you for doing all the links, Laura. If you would like any of the products that I've used, Laura has put all the links on the video, so do check them out. Yeah, and I will see you again in 2 weeks. As I said, I have no idea what date that is, but it'll be, or that will be on a Wednesday. It will be back to Wednesday lives for me. It's just that I wasn't able to do this Wednesday. Yeah, thank you all for joining. Thanks so much, Lena. Yeah, and thanks, yeah, thank you all for joining. Sorry, I'm waffling now. But yeah, I'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Thanks, everyone. Bye.